getting getting the old one, the 638911 8.
Good evening and good morning.
Yeah, just can you hold on for a second?
You have to speak louder.
All right, welcome to Prerona Television Canada. Sorry for our technical difficulties. Earlier I was with you and I shared with you a couple of things. I'm just continuing with our speaker. So we're very happy that we are conducting our regular weekly training session, leadership training sessions. As I already explained earlier with you, that the purpose of the leadership training session. So today we are very happy that we are having Advocate Ziaur Rahman. He is the CEO of IITM and he is also adjunct professor of IUB Independent University. So now I welcome Professor Ziaur Rahman, and you have already been hosted, so you can share your screen, please. Thank you.
Good evening and good morning. Good evening in Canada and good morning in Bangladesh and rest of the world. Today's session is on leadership and core values. This is our 8th session. Can everybody see the screen?
No, we cannot see the screen. Can you just share the screen? You can't see the screen.
Let me try one more time. Okay. Has it come up?
Yes, can you just, yes, yeah, the full screen. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Advocate Ziaur Rahman presenting to you on leadership and core values. We are sorry that we had a glitch and now we are starting our presentation. This is our 8th session and today's topic is leadership and core values. So let me move directly into the session. So what do we understand by leadership and core values? So before we start our session, I'd like to start with a quotation. The quotation is by John Quincy Adams. It reads like, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. So here the word is your actions that needs to inspire others to dream more, learn more, and do more, and become more. Everything is in relation to getting better. Somebody who has a reasonable capacity, if you are a leader, you actually work with that person and energize that person to a level where he or she starts to become a better enabled, more energetic, more active person. So at the end, that person transforms from being the old himself or herself to somebody who has a different set of skills and different set of energy and different set of motivation to deliver and perform more for the society. So that's the whole purpose of leadership. And leadership at this level, it doesn't does not just come based on your thoughts only. You have to lead and you have to bring people to your level. So you have to share your own views, your beliefs, your own norms, your own culture, your own values to the person. Because with the leadership, without the necessary value placement in front of your audience, will not bring people to you in terms of getting people's motivation and energy connected to your energy and your vision. So this is important. And in relation to today's topic, this is extremely important. So let me move into our topic, leadership. We had actually discussed leadership in great detail previously. So I will just share one definition and then move on. So what is leadership? Leadership is about inspiring, engaging, and embedding a culture and a value system in others. So you're inspiring, you're engaging these people to work with you, and you're putting some kind of ideas, belief system. You can call it a culture. We're going to go detail into it in today's session, and a system of value, a set of values that you want to be transferred or seen in the organization in which you're working. So leadership is actually bringing those value systems into the system, into the operations of the organization. So people respond to your thoughts and your values in a similar mindset. So you are driven by a particular set of values, perhaps to achieve a certain direction, a vision, or a goal. So that is leadership. Moving on, what is a core value and what is a value system? So I have two definitions. The first one is the core values. So let me address the first one. Core values are embedded belief system or philosophy that drives a person or an organization. This is directly from Google. So what is it doing? It is embedding a system of belief, views that we hold, things that we cherish, uh, mindsets that we have, norms, systems that we have grown up with. That form of system, belief system, that is embedded uh, in your mindset and in your work activities, your actions, your thought process, that you can consider a part of your philosophy. And collectively, this set of behavior, set of norms, set of belief system is pushing you to move from point A to point B. So that is your core values. It is inherently uh, your system that you have evolved over the years. Core values does not pop in one fine day. It is a process of continuous uh, interactions with society through which you actually start to develop your own core values. The kind of people you associate with helps you to develop your core values. If you're associating with people who are extremely morally and ethically strong, your core value system would also reflect and rub off the moral and ethical standards of the people with whom you are associating. So that's your core value. What is a value system? Value system is an aggregation or a summation of collective values that defines or shapes the overall person or an organization. So there is a strong linkage between the two. Core values is your system, belief system, and value system is the set of beliefs that you use and operate within an organization or within your own personal life that you use. So they are interlinked, they are connected. One sits with the other. So there is a lot of connectivity between the two. And you can't say you have a good set of core values and at the same time you have a bad set of value system. If your core values are proper, more ethical, then your value system will be also ethical. So having understood these two concepts, let us move into how core value and the value system affects us as a professional level or as an organizational level. Remember, organizations are nothing but a combination of number of people. Collectively, their thought process, their knowledge, their value system, their wisdom creates the organization through a certain standards setting by the CEO and the central management team. So moving to the next slide. What could be some core value areas? Core value areas could be different from different organization based on different cultures. They might be slightly different, but overall they would be reflecting the certain moral ethical standards normally globally. So let's jump into a few of them. One of the core values that are very much needed globally and used regularly is dependability. If you want to be a professional and you want to hold a core value dear to your heart, dependability would be one. People have to depend on you. So you create an environment where you show dependability across your actions. And by showing your dependability across the organization, you're also fostering the culture of dependability within the culture in which you're working. Uh, Specifically, if you're leading the organization and if you're dependable in your actions, then it will reflect on the organization and others will try to follow your action pattern. They will also try to be dependable in their actions because you are showing a purpose of dependability in your work activities, in your thoughts, in your comments, in your association and work ethics with others. The other one is loyalty. If you're loyal to your work, if you're loyal to your stakeholders, your customers, that will also rub in with others, and others will also follow the same suit. They will also try to be loyal to the customers, loyal to the stakeholders, maybe loyal to the employees. So these are embedded characteristics that you bring onto your organization and part of your core values. The other one is creativity. Some organizations have a structure of being more creative than the others. They introduce creativity right from the day when you start working for the organization. And when you work for these type of organization, you see a lot of energy being pushed into the organization to be more innovative, to be more creative, and the actions of employees, staff who are more creative are given more value to. So you immediately know a core value of creativity is a part of this organization. Creativity and innovation goes together. So that's another component of core values that you could have within an organization. The new term in today's global market is environmentalism. Uh, Even 20, 30 years back, people were not so much focused on the issue of being responsible towards the environment. Now, every product and every service that a company produces or product that it makes, they have to also understand how it is responding to the overall ecology and whether the product has a positive ecological impact in the society. So environmentalism has become a big issue in how we run our operations, how we run our society. So this is another core value that can be embedded within yourself, your team, and your organization. Reliability is another vital issue. If you're always talking about being reliable, being driven by quality and reliability within your work environment, and you are focused on delivering the right output without error, then you are actually a reliable organization in your actions. So if you are focusing on doing the thing right the first time around, that is the core value of reliability. So organizations are sometimes driven by the issues of reliability, and you know that that organization has reliability as one of its strength areas and its core values. Spirit of adventure connects with creativity and innovation. Some organizations allow your employees to do more. Maybe they make mistakes, but they learn quickly. So this learning curve is highly encouraged in those organizations. So the spirit of adventure is and parcel of that organization. So that can be considered a core value. Positive optimism is also part of a culture where motivation is given on a regular basis, and you are encouraged to deliver more. And even if there is an issue of failure at points, uh, management tries to look at things from a positive angle of you actually going through a learning curve and growing as a professional, growing as an individual. So positive optimism can create a very vibrant environment, and that is part of a core value that an organization can actually build upon. Then comes respect. Respect across people, across division, across your customer base, across your employees. If you are respectful towards each other, then it shows in the organization. And if the respect culture is heavily promoted right from the top to the bottom, you will see people being more courteous, more respectful, more giving more time to listening to other people's viewpoints. So a different type of environment within the organization can flow. So that is also part of a core value system. The other one is open-mindedness. Being open, being open is a very important part in an organizational context. Some organizations, if you are being more open, then the flow and activities and work practices of the organization runs more effectively. Uh, Specifically, organization where there are a lot of collaboration, lot of interaction, lot of moving between people, between groups, and getting a people-centric management practice uh, onboarded. In those type of organization, open-mindedness actually delivers more. You are open to suggestions, you're open to interactions, you're open to connecting with people. So a lot of dynamic flow of exchange of information takes place in those types of organizations. And certain organizations are characterized by these type of spirit. And when you talk about these spirits, these could be actually part and parcel of your core value system. So there could be other core values as well, and many organizations are driven by paying a lot of attention to their core values. Core values, in an essence, connects with your mission and your vision. If your vision is to develop your organization to a world-class organization, then you have to set the foundation on which the vision will actually take place. And the core values could be considered like your foundational pillars. So if your foundational pillars are strong and sturdy and well grounded, then the organization will have a proper infrastructure. it will run more effectively, it will deliver more results, and people will see, people will connect more easily with your organization. So it's part of a larger stakeholder management process that every organization should have its vision connected with its core values. So core values are pretty much your set of beliefs that you hold and cherish that on your organizational standpoint. And if you can bring your team members to have a strong associative associativeness with the core values that you have set out in your organization, then the organization will be more effective, more dynamic, and more performing. So organization to organization, set of core values can change, but I have shared the core values which are a system which any organization, regardless of any field, can actually bring into their organization and deliver a positive outcome. This is part of the shared culture. So core values can be aggressive, it can be passive. When you talk about aggressive core values, things will be pretty much written down. There will be forms and norms and structure, and people will tell you right on your face, this is how we do things here. And if you look at our documentation, our values statement, our philosophy statement, then you will see the core values are written, and we can't move beyond the core values. So these are aggressive presentation of your core values. In some organization, it might be passive. Core values may not be written, but it is seen by the actions of the people that are working in that organization. And if you want to get a feel for the organization, all you have to do is follow through the actions and work ethics of people in that organization. So you will get a feel for the core values. So once you work for an organization for a certain period of time, it will also be part of your system because you're seeing it on a regular basis. You're feeling it on a regular basis. So even if it's not written, it passes on to you. So core values are good from a spiritual point of view. If you want to perform well in your life, if you want to perform well in your professional life, a set of core values can be this guiding principle. Then that can lit your professional career as well. And by having a set of core values, you are more focused on the direction based on the principles or the organizational philosophy that will take you from point A to point B. It's like a direction setting lighting system that takes you from point A to point B. So core values are essential, core values are integral, and core values can add significant strength and organizational efficiency. Moving to the next slide. How does a core value affect a leader? So if you're visioning a certain direction as a leader of an organization, and if if somehow your core values are not there and not properly being followed, then as a visionary leader, you will not achieve your intended target. So I would suggest that every leader should reflect back and connect back with your core values and your vision at the same time. That means when you're setting your vision and working towards your vision, you must realize that do these vision, do this vision align with your set of core values? If the vision is not aligned with your set of core values, then you need to either adjust your vision or you need to adjust your core values. Obviously, you probably not want to adjust your vision You would rather want your core values to adjust to your vision. So as the leader looking into the future, your core values are, in other words, the trusting relationship, the integrity that you pull within the organization and outside the organization, the authenticity of your actions, and the authenticity of the work activities that you have, and also authenticity in terms of your product, what you're suggesting that the product can do. The product must have those attributes, and your presence of mind, which we talked about in my last class, and the knowledge and skills. All of these are small but very important points that are connectors to your culture and your core values. So in the visioning process, you must ensure that your culture of connecting back with your issues of trust, your issues of integrity, authenticity, presence of mind, knowledge, and skills are properly reflected. So, visioning and connected core values are important, and they have to align together. If they are misaligned, you will have difficulty in getting your vision to actually take place in the organization. You will be faltering and you will be falling behind. So at that point, you need to bring back the idea of the core values into your discussion, into your brainstorming sessions, and setting of the core values aligned with your vision. Moving to the next slide. Leadership values. These are connected with core values as well. As a human being, you must have a certain set of values if you want people to follow you. And how do you set your leadership values? They're connected with the core values that you've set up for your organization. As we mentioned, a list of core values. Here we can talk about your personal value system that may be connected with your core values. The one is punctuality. Punctuality relates back to, let's say, reliability as a core value. So if you are punctual in your operations, in your work efforts, in running your meetings, then people will realize that this person is very punctual, and therefore the meeting will start right on the dot. So we have to be in the meeting right from the beginning. So when the clock strikes, let's say 9 o'clock, and the meeting is supposed to be at 9, you know that this leader is being punctual. So you will automatically follow into that punctuality attribute yourself. How so? By responding to the punctuality perspective of your leader. So that's your leadership value. You're promoting punctuality as a leadership tool. Open culture and ask and seek question. If you want to be a leader who is well responded to, then you have to ask a lot of questions, get some feedback. You may not respond to all the feedback, but you can ask for a decent level of feedback from people, so people feel that they are participative in your decision making. And when you are actually bringing the set of decisions into the floor, you can actually then respond by saying that we had heard a lot of different perspectives. I could not accommodate all of that. I had to actually look at the entire stakeholder process, and based on what is best for our organization, I have taken that route. And some of these decisions are connected to your thoughts that you had actually shared with us or with me in the last few weeks or in the last meeting or so. So the open culture will create an environment of fostering more information into the organization, and also feeling that you're part of the system. So these leadership values will actually move the organization to the next level. Efficiency is another one. If you're more efficient, if you're pushing on efficiency, on a regular basis in every meeting, in every action, every the design of new projects. Efficiency is being pushed as a paramount important ingredient, then obviously that's a leadership value, and that ultimately will turn into a core value. Remember, leadership values, our core values, are also intricately connected. When your leadership values are seen on a regular basis into your operations, day in, day out, ultimately these traits will be embedded into your operational culture, and eventually they may turn into your core values. And if you are a CEO of an organization, and if a system of reliability, for example, is being pushed by every single CEO before you, then this uh, reliability issue will be an embedded culture, a part of your core value system. So even if you want to move out of reliability into some other core value, the reliability perspective will be very sticky. So core values are also very sticky from an organizational point of view. If a value system is there for a very long time, and if your leadership values are not connected with your core value, then you will have friction and you may not work efficiently in that organization. Rapport building can be part of your leadership value that can be connected with your core value of, let's say, collaboration. Frugality versus flamboyance. For example, some organizations are known for its frugality. For example, Walmart. Walmart tries to sell you a everyday low price product, but reliable product. So how can you create an environment where you are having products which are reliable and yet very cost effective? By having an operation which is lean and mean, very efficient in terms of costing matters. So frugality will be heavily focused on the work environment in uh, Walmart. But let's say you are dealing with a very esoteric, very high-end, very technically advanced product where a lot of costs are involved in R&D and product design, things you're changing on a regular basis until you find the right product. Cost is secondary. Your design is supreme. So in those environment, cost may not be the main focus. You may not be focused on reducing cost per se. Everybody wants to have a reasonable cost, but cost by itself will not be the driving principle. Others would actually take much more center stage. So flamboyance and having a different type of environment can be part and parcel of that organization. So frugality versus flamboyance is an issue which, as a leader, you can also have within yourself. If you come from a very conservative background, probability lies that you will be frugal in your thoughts, in your actions. And if you come from a very affluent, very rich environment, social background, then there could be an issue of flamboyance in your thought process. So you have to align your thoughts with the organization in which you're working to lead your organization. Innovation and experimentation. This is also connected to your growth of an organization. If you want to be a leader in an organization which is highly innovative, then your leadership values must also have the spirit of innovation and experimentation on a regular basis. Otherwise, again, you'll be a misfit for the organization, no matter how smart a professional you are. Honesty, integrity, and ethics. It goes without saying that every human being, in order to lead, must inculcate these three spirits. If you're honest, if you're integrity driven, and you have a sense of purpose and ethics, then people will follow you, people will emulate you. And those are leadership values that are transcendental, that travels from uh, generations to generations. So very good leadership values, and you as a professional must try to bring those values into your belief system. Then comes performance focused mindset. Some leaders are driven by performance. They want achievement. And if you're working in a laid back environment and if you're trying to lead that organization, you can't just transform the culture of that organization from being a laid back environment to being a highly challenged and performance focused organization. You have to work with these people. You have to call on meetings and start bringing the focus on performance being an important issue for that organization every time that you are open to a discussion with your team. So over a certain period, you can actually transform a laid back organization to a performance focused organization. It does not mean that laid back organizations are not performing, but if you are putting some matrix and based on that parameter, if you want your organization to perform, then you are actually transforming your organization into a performance based culture. And maybe in a laid back environment, people can do a lot of work but in different spurts. So there might be moments of lull, not much activity is taking place, but in some other period, people are working most vociferously, most actively to produce a certain result. So that is a laid back environment. Performance is not being judged on a week to week or hour to hour basis, but over a period of 1 quarter, 1 year, you are focused on certain performance. So these cultures can have an impact based on how, as a leader, you double with those attributes within the organizations. When we talk about attributes, in this case, we're talking about actually the culture of that organization, whether the organization is laid back environment or whether the organization culture is performance driven. Then comes the issue of collaboration and participation. As a leadership value, if you're working for an organization where the culture is highly collaborative, you will perform really well. However, if you are coming from an environment where you are rigidly focused on individual growth and individual outcome and performance, and then collectively bringing those performance together, and then coming to the overall organizational um, development, then when you step into an organization where collaboration is the norm, then you may have a situation where you're not going to be performing well. You will be always having difficulty and obstacles trying to get things done. So you have to also adjust your leadership values according to the organization at times in order to see through the mindset of the organization. And then, if you want to respond and challenge the mindset, that's a different game altogether. But initially, you don't want to rock the boat. You want to understand the organization and you want to understand how the organization works, whether it's a collaborative model or whether it's a highly charged individualistic model. And based on understanding and being part of that model first, then you can play with it, you can tweak with it, you can change the model by bringing in your old philosophy, old behavior, old mindset, or the organizational culture from which you came in that you want to roll out in this organization. That point you can slowly change, but initially you might have to be part of the mold, part of the gang, understanding their process, understanding their viewpoint, their mindset, and then move beyond. So collaboration, participation are truly important, specifically in regards to organizations which are valuing collaboration as a core value. So if you're looking at the set of points that are raised here as leadership values, you will understand that these values are highly connected to the success or failure of the organization. And if your set of leadership values are connected with your set of corporate culture and corporate core value system, then the organization will probably smoothly operate. Otherwise, there will be moments of uh, dis, dis, dislocation, moments of inefficiency, moments of frustration. And if you are not good in handling those type of situation as a leader, things can slowly go south and break down. So in spite of you being a good person, in spite of having good moral values, you may not be doing well in a particular environment unless you understand the core values of that organization and you respond to the core values with adjusting your values uh, in that environment. We are not suggesting that you leave out your values. We are suggesting that adjustment in your behavior, adjustment in your system of operation may create opportunity in future. But you have to get settled with the environment as you want to change things. You have to be part of the system and then slowly change things around. Moving to the next slide. This is an interesting topic which we have a session separately in the coming days. So I am just sharing one slide on this point, but this is a huge area. And this actually designs the future of the organizations today. And it is highly connected with your stakeholder process, issues of governance, and issues of transparency. Without having the issue of ethics part and parcel into your organization will not become a organization which will be talked about, which will have a command in the industry. So what is ethics and responsibility? Ethics or moral philosophy is a branch of philosophy that involves systematizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. Very important point. What is right behavior and what is a wrong behavior would probably be the same even 100 years from today. So it's black and white. Ethics talks about black and white issues. Ethics does not talk about gray areas where in some cases you might think that it is okay to do certain things. Ethics do not respond to those issues. Ethics are very much clear that this is right. Taking bribe is a unethical action. Going to your client's meeting and taking their viewpoint based on some kickbacks or incentive is downright unethical. So ethics is pretty much black and white. So either it's right or either it's wrong. So it's this branch or philosophy that creates this culture and it defends is the culture and it brings a set of recommendation as to what is right and what is inappropriate in this type of environment. So notice I mentioned that ethics even 50 years from today would actually be the same. Certain norms may change, but the ethical standards will always remain the same. from decade to decade. So virtue is a very strong issue of ethics, integrity, honesty, loyalty, accountability, transparency are highly charged words. Each has its own meaning, each has its own eh, focus area, but they are all connected to the word ethics. So if you are not virtuous, if you are not following a virtuous structure, behavior in your organization, if you are in the mindset of swindling the organization, then you are not ethical. These topics like virtue, integrity, honesty, loyalty, accountability, and transparency may have a little shade of gray area, but when you are bringing these issues into the perspective of ethics, they become very codified, they become very structured, and ethics only deals with what is appropriate or what is inappropriate. Issues which are in the gray areas would be put into these baskets of, let's say, integrity, honesty, loyalty, virtue, accountability, and transparency. You might say the system is highly transparent, then it's very ethically responsible system. Or you might say the system is not as transparent as we wish to see it, then it's not an ethical environment. You can't say it's less ethical in that perspective. As I mentioned, that ethics very much clear. It's either yes or no type of environment. It is either a right behavior or it is a wrong behavior. And moving to the next point is responsibility. What is responsibility and how responsibility is connected with ethics? Responsibility deals with managing operations and activities ethically. That means if you are dealing with certain actions in a responsible way, ethical way, that is responsibility. That is dealing with the issues of fairness and issues of being an operation that is dealing with what is proper, what is transparent, what is needed, and what is driven by honesty and integrity. So responsibility is the actions, and ethics is perhaps the set of value system, and responsibility is how you act around the value system. Are you being responsible in connecting with your value system? And in this case, ethics being your paramount value system. So responsibility is the flow of activities that goes around the the center point of whether certain things is ethical or unethical. Being honest and fair in thought process, things that you're thinking, things in your mindset, designing and implementing the project in all the areas. If you're responsible, then you are intricately connected through an invisible umbilical cord with the ethics of the organization. And ethics can itself be a very powerful component of your core value system. For example, if you said that anything and everything that we do and any design or any projects or any activity that we undertake must be uh, ethically right. And if it's not ethically right, if it doesn't pass the test of ethics, we shall not take on that initiative, regardless of the fact that it is highly profitable. So that can be a stance of ethics. And the actions that you're doing around your ethics is your responsibility. So when we say an organization is doing responsible behavior, they're actually doing things most ethically, most driven by most uh, strong value system, and ensuring that the core value of ethics is embedded at the heart of that organization. And every individual within that organization is following the principle of ethics and doing appropriate actions and responsibly taking forward the uh, actions of the organization. So ethics and responsibility are again like a Siamese twins, and one sits with the other. And you can't say I'm responsible and yet unethical. You have to say that I'm responsible and therefore I'm ethical, and vice versa. Moving to the last slide, I will end with a story. Let me read out the story and then we'll have a short uh, view on it. A chef puts two frogs in a pot of warm soup water. The first frog smelled the onions, recognized the danger, and immediately jumped out. So the first frog immediately jumped out. The second frog hesitated. The water felt good, and he decided to stay and relax for a minute. After all, he could always jump out when things got too hot, so to speak. So he was in the water. As the water got hotter, however, the frog adapted to it. So the frog slowly adapted to the situation, hardly noticing the change. He didn't notice that the water was getting warmer and warmer. He was just adjusting to the temperature. Before long, of course, he was the main ingredient in frog leg soup. So he perished. The first frog jumped out, seeing the sign of difficulty or maybe sign of corruption within the organization. But the second frog stayed with the organization, adjusted to the negative environment, adjusted to the negatively charged environment, and thought that things will change, and he had to adapt to the environment. And ultimately, he became part of the environment. Ultimately, he perished. Ultimately, he perhaps became as inefficient or as incorrect or as inefficient or as corrupt as others in the department or the organization. So he could not change the system. He became part of the system. So what is the moral of the story? Don't sit around in an ethically toxic environment. So in an organization, if you see ethics not being played out properly, you should raise your voice. You should try to change things, even if it's risking your perhaps your job and your cozy environment. You should not be sitting in a toxic environment and your integrity is challenged little at a time. It's better to get out before it becomes too hot and your options evaporate and you actually become part of the system and be a, a leader who loses all hope, and people will slowly disconnect from you and you will be out in the cold, and at the same time you might be somebody who has gotten into other kinds of legal debacles, so your life will be ruined. So it's best to be very ethical from day one. And if you want to lead as a person and if you want to lead as an organization, all your actions have to be environmentally safe, non-toxic, and definitely driven by an organizational standpoint of being fair and true to your stakeholders. So with that, I will bring to the last question that I always have. It's called the $1 million question. So what is this question? Does one fall behind in leadership trying to practice ethics in decision making? So what I'm asking is, do you fall behind by being ethical? Let me share my view. I think it's absolutely the other way. It's a long game. Leaders are not there to score big in one round of activity. Leaders are known by keeping consistent effort. A leader is grown over a certain process. As we mentioned previously, a leadership is a process. So it's not a one-off event. So if you are being ethical, you are not falling behind. You are actually gaining momentum. You are actually gaining a lot of respect in the hearts of the organization, in the hearts of your people, even amongst your customer base. When people start to believe that you as a leader are responsible, you're ethically charged, you're very transparent, you're driven by honesty and integrity, then people will respond to you by actually trying to connect with your organization and maybe help you to grow your organization, promote your organization, and obviously, if that person has the need for your product, they will try to buy your product rather than buying it from someone else. We know this statement in sales. We say that a salesman creates a selling relationship first before selling a product. And when we talk about that relationship, we're actually talking about the relationship in terms of integrity, honesty, integrity, charisma, etc. So being ethical can never put a leader behind. Being ethical, being driven by values, driven by integrity, will always take you to the next level. And ultimately, in the game of success, a true leader will be ethical, responsible, and believing and doing what is right for the society as what is right for himself or herself. So the final answer is you are always going to lead if you are being ethical day in, day out in your decision making. So with that, I end my presentation. And if you have any questions, we are open to a question answering session now. And back to you, Edward.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. Just like to briefly discuss, I don't want to, because of the time, I am not going to share everything, but just gonna question. So we discussed more about leadership today, the values and the core values. So it's very interesting topics. So one of the things we discussed different core values here. Also, how a leader can see a vision, how the leader see the vision, and what are the leadership vision values are there. So, and it's very important as leaders values that leaders promotes and acts on it. So, one of the things that's important here, what I like to emphasize on is just ethics and responsibility. So, as a leader, we can see that here the leader has a role here to play a very vital role here to be an ethical and to be a responsible person or responsible individual here. So from the story that we learn here, I just need to ask the $1 million question one, right? So here, uh, does one fall behind in leadership trying to practice ethics in decision making? Yes. So this question might arise, and many of you might wonder, right? What should be the right, what should be the wrong? Am I losing, right? Or if I practice ethics and everything, and you have already mentioned, right, why we should practice ethics. And one of the things that I would like to emphasize here for long-term benefit for an individual or for the organizations is always best to practice a good ethical, good ethics or have a good ethical practices in their organization. So is there any challenges or maybe loss or means challenges from your experience? My question to you, a leader can face because they practice ethical, means they have ethical practices as an individual or as an organization. So do you have any examples or any?
If I understood your question properly, what you're asking is that you're asking that if in practice, if an organization practices ethics, is there any challenge, or has any leader seen some kind of challenge practicing ethics? Is that your question?
Yes, no, my question is, yes, definitely there is a challenge, but my question is like, from your experience, can you give an example where a leader has an ethical practices, they practice as an individual a good ethical practices, and in organizations he makes sure or she makes sure that they have a good practices. But because of having good ethical practices, is there any instance where they are losing or there may be financial loss or they are not achieving their goals? So is there any situations where leader because of good ethical practices they are in loss? So do you have any examples or any
No,
tell?
I think it's the other way around. When you are practicing good ethical practice, people notice, people realize that this is the type of organization that I want to work with, I want to associate with, and therefore my energy and my productivity actually goes up. When an organization is highly ethical, uh, these organizations begin to develop faster vis-a-vis an organization which are not following the ethical standards. So I think it's the other way around. I would see more examples of organization doing better by standards of practice which are kept at high level. And if you look at Fortune 100 companies, you will see they have a very strong effort in trying to be ethical in their annual documentation, annual statements. They they have dedicated pages on talking about ethics and responsibility and stakeholder management process. And I think these organizations are moving from being an average organization, some, to becoming leaders in their domain by following through the leadership practice of ethics day in, day out, strenuously. And the examples are many in terms of the Fortune 1000, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies that are following through the practice of ethics and moving from being a reasonably large organization to becoming a giant organization, having huge global connectivity and network and brand value. So I think it's actually the opposite.
Thank you very much. I think that ends our session. Thank you very much for being with us. Now I will be sharing with you in Bengali because we have audience, those who speak in Bengali. So, and we are requesting you to watch our regular weekly series, which is happening every Wednesday at Mountain Standard Time at 8 p.m. and Eastern Standard Time at 10 p.m. And Dhaka in Bangladesh time it's 8 a.m. in the morning the following day, and Indian time at 7:30 in the morning the following day. Thank you very much. আজকে আমাদের প্রেরণা টেলিভিশন কানাডার পক্ষ থেকে আপনাদের সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি। আমাদের আজকে খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ একটা বিষয় আমরা আলোচনা করছি, আমাদের রেগুলার সাপ্তাহিক যে লিডারশিপ বা নেতৃত্বের উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক যে বিষয় আমরা সিরিজ করে থাকি তারই ধারাবাহিকতায় আমাদের অষ্টম সিরিজ আজকে হয়েছে এবং আমরা আজকে আনন্দিত আমাদের সাথে আমাদের রেগুলার স্পিকার যে বা অ্যাডভোকেট জিয়াউর রহমান উনি আছেন। উনি ওনার সেশন খুব সুন্দরভাবে উনি এক্সপ্লেন করেছেন। তো আজকে আমি আপনাদের সাথে খুব সংক্ষেপে আমরা যে বিষয়ে আমরা শিখলাম সে বিষয়ে আমি আপনাদের সাথে শেয়ার করতে যাচ্ছি। তো লিডারশিপের যে বিষয়টা আমরা দেখেছি যে আমরা জানি যে লিড একটা প্রত্যেক নেতা বা যে কোনো অর্গানাইজেশনের নেতা থেকে তার একটা রোল বা একটা ভূমিকা থাকে। তা আমরা জানি যে যে একজন লিডার কি হতে পারে। এখানে আমরা জন কুইন্সি অ্যাডামস তারা বলেছেন যে আমরা কি অন্যদেরকে অনুপ্রাণিত করি, আমরা যাতে তারা স্বপ্ন দেখতে পারে, ভালো স্বপ্ন দেখতে, তারা আরো শিখতে পারে, আরো বেশি কিছু করতে পারে, তারা বড় কিছু করতে পারে, তারপরে আমরা লিডার। তার মানে কি, এখানে কিন্তু আমাকে নিয়ে না, লিডার মানে নেতা মানে আমাকে নিয়ে না, আমি অন্যদেরকে নিয়ে কাজ করছি। তাদের নেতৃত্বের বা তাদেরকে আমি কিভাবে উন্নয়ন করতে পারি, তাদেরকে ডেভেলপ করতে পারি, তো সেটা আমাদের করা দরকার। এইখানে আরেকটা হচ্ছে যে যে বিষয়টা হচ্ছে যে আমরা লিডারশিপে বা নেতৃত্বের যে বিষয়টা আমরা শিখলাম, সেটা হচ্ছে যে অনুপ্রাণিত করা, উৎসাহিত করা মানুষকে, বা আমাদের যারা সহকর্মী রয়েছে বা আমাদের যারা অধস্তন যারা কর্মকর্তা রয়েছে, তাদেরকে আমরা যদি এনগেজ করি, তাদেরকে যদি আমরা কাজের মধ্যে যুক্ত করি, এবং একটা কালচার বা একটা সংস্কৃতি, আমাদের কাজের সংস্কৃতি যদি আমরা গঠন করি, তাহলে কিন্তু আমরা, এটাই আমাদের একটা নেতৃত্ব। তো এখন আজকে যে বিষয়টা আলোচনা হয়েছে যে কোর ভ্যালু, যে মূল যে মূল্যবোধটা রয়েছে, ভ্যালু সিস্টেম, যে মূল্যবোধের যে ধারাটা রয়েছে, এটা কিভাবে আসলে আমরা করতে পারি, বা কিভাবে এটা একটা অর্গানাইজেশনে বা একটা সংস্থাতে বা বিজনেসে এটা কিভাবে আহ, তৈরি হয়। তো আসলে এটা অনেক কিছু বিষয় জড়িত রয়েছে। লিডারশিপের যে বিষয়টা হচ্ছে যে আমাদের লিডার যে নেতৃত্ব রয়েছে, তার এখানে কমিটমেন্ট প্রয়োজন রয়েছে, তার তার এখানে সে যে কেন সে নেতৃত্ব দিচ্ছে, এবং তাদেরকে যাদেরকে নিয়ে কাজ করছে সবার মধ্যে যে মূল্যবোধটা তারা তৈরি করছে। তো এখানে একটা দর্শন রয়েছে, যে দর্শনের ফলে শুধুমাত্র শুধু নেতা না বা নেতৃত্ব না, যারা এই অর্গানাইজেশনে কাজ করছে সবাই কিন্তু সেই অর্গানাইজেশনের কাজ করতেছে। তো এখানে কিন্তু একটা কালেকটিভ এফোর্ট আমাদের এখানে কাজ করতেছে, বা একটা সংঘবদ্ধ যে একটা প্রক্রিয়া, সেটা আমরা কাজ করতে চাই। তার মধ্যে কিন্তু আমরা এই কোর ভ্যালুসটা বা ভ্যালু সিস্টেমটা সেটা আমরা ডেভেলপ করতে পারি। আমরা এখানে কয়েকটা বিষয় আলোচনা করেছি। তো যেটা কোর ভ্যালুজ এর মধ্যে যেটা রয়েছে, যে যেটা মূল্যবোধ, বা আমাদের যে লিডারশিপের যেটা রয়েছে ডিপেন্ডেবিলিটি, আমাদের যে আমাদের আমরা কি নির্ভরশীল। তো তো এইটার কারণটা কি, যে ভ্যালু সিস্টেমের একটা হচ্ছে যে আমরা কিন্তু সবসময় কিন্তু যে কোনো অর্গানাইজেশনে কাজ করি, আমরা কিন্তু কি বলে যে এটা মাল্টি ডিসিপ্লিনারি টিমে যখন আমরা কাজ করি, তখন কিন্তু আমরা একে অন্যের প্রতি নির্ভরশীল। তো নির্ভরশীল যখন হই, তখন কিন্তু আমাদের কিন্তু দায়িত্ববোধ রয়েছে। তো ডিপেন্ডেবিলিটি, যে না আমি একাই এটা করব, একাই আমি এটা পারবো, সেই ধরনের মনোভাব না। যাতে আমাদের এটা থেকে লয়্যালটি যে বিষয়টা, যেটা হচ্ছে যে কার প্রতি যে আস্থা বা তার প্রতি যে নির্ভরতা, বা আমি যে আমি আমার যে ঊর্ধ্বতন যদি কর্মকর্তা থাকে বা যাদের বসে, তার প্রতি যে আমার যে আনুগত্য, যেটা বলে বাংলায় আনুগত্য, যে স্বীকার করা, সেই আনুগত্যটা থাকতে হয়। ক্রিয়েটিভিটি, ক্রিয়েটিভিটি আমাদের যারা আমরা ক্রিয়েটিভিটি আমাদের মধ্যে থাকতে হবে, এবং ইনোভেশন, আমাদের ইনোভেশন, এনভায়রনমেন্টাল, আরো অনেক বিষয় আমাদের থাকতে হবে। তো এইখানে আমরা যে বিষয়টা শিক্ষা করলাম, যে কোর ভ্যালুজ এর মধ্যে রিলায়েবিলিটি রয়েছে, তারপরে স্পিরিট অফ অ্যাডভেঞ্চার, পজিটিভ অপটিমিজম, রেসপেক্ট, সম্মানবোধ, ওপেন মাইন্ডনেস। তো এই ভ্যালু গুলো, এই যে মূল্যবোধ গুলো, এগুলো কিন্তু আমাদের মধ্যে যদি থাকে, আমাদের অর্গানাইজেশনে যেগুলো থাকে, তাহলে কিন্তু আমরা একটা সিস্টেম, কোর ভ্যালু সিস্টেম আমরা ডেভেলপ করতে পারি। এবং এই ডেভেলপের মধ্যে কি হচ্ছে, যে একটা অর্গানাইজেশনে আমরা কিন্তু গ্রোথ আমরা করতে পারছি, রিটেনশন বাড়তেছে, অর্গানাইজেশনের কর্মীরা থাকছে, তাদের মধ্যে একে অন্যের প্রতি পারস্পরিক আস্থা বাড়তেছে, এবং আস্থার ফলে কি হচ্ছে, আমাদের প্রোডাক্টিভিটি বাড়তেছে। তো ভিশনিং অফ এ লিডার হচ্ছে যে একজন লিডারের যখন তারা একটা বিষয়ে, সরি, তারা কি দর্শন বা তারা কি স্বপ্ন দেখে। সো আমরা জানি যখন লিডারের দায়িত্বটা কি, বা যে নেতা দায়িত্বটা কি, যে তারা কিন্তু ভবিষ্যৎটা দেখতে পায়, তাদের কাছে অনেক ইনফরমেশন থাকে যে না, আমার অর্গানাইজেশন আজকে এই পর্যায়ে হচ্ছে, আমাদের ভবিষ্যতে আমরা কিভাবে যেতে পারি, এবং তারা কিন্তু তাদের যে দল রয়েছে বা যাদের সাথে কাজ করতেছে, তাদের কিন্তু একটা পরিচালনা প্রদান করে। এবং এটা কিভাবে সম্ভব, সম্ভবটা এইভাবে যে আমাদের মধ্যে যে ট্রাস্ট, বিশ্বাস থাকতে হবে, ইন্টিগ্রিটি মধ্যে থাকতে হবে, অথেন্টিসিটি আমাদের থাকতে হবে, এবং সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হচ্ছে যে এখানে আমাদের যে মূল যে জ্ঞান, নলেজ এবং স্কিলও থাকতে হবে, এবং প্রেজেন্স অফ মাইন্ড। আমরা অনেক সময় অনেক কাজ করি, আমাদের ঠিক আমরা সেই নিজেকে নিয়োজিত না করে আমরা কাজ করি, কিন্তু সেটা যদি নিয়োজিত আমরা যদি আমাদের মনকে স্থিরভাবে কাজ করি, প্রেজেন্স অফ মাইন্ড যদি থাকে, তাহলে কিন্তু আমাদের লিডার আমাদের কিন্তু সঠিকভাবে আমাদেরকে পরিচালিত করতে পারে এবং আমরাও কিন্তু আমাদের যে লক্ষ্য রয়েছে লক্ষ্যটাকে অর্জন করতে পারি। লিডারশিপ ভ্যালুর মধ্যে যে এখানে মূল্যবোধ যেগুলো রয়েছে তার তার মধ্যে এখানে কাজটা কি, আসলে লিডারের কাজটা হচ্ছে এটা প্রমোট করা। প্রমোট করা মানে এটা উৎসাহিত এবং অ্যাকশন, তার মানে কি শুধু সে এটা দিয়ে না। অনেকে আম, আমি একটা অর্গানাইজেশনে গিয়েছিলাম, সেখানে দেখলাম যে বড় অর্গানাইজেশন, কয়েক হাজার একর তাদের বিগ তাদের প্ল্যান্ট এবং হাজার হাজার এমপ্লয়িজ। তো এখানে দেখা গেছে যে বিভিন্ন সময় বিভিন্ন রকমের তাদের তাদের প্রমোট ভ্যালুস সিস্টেম তারা এখানে পোস্ট করে রাখছে এবং অর্গানাইজেশনের যারা এমপ্লয়ি তারা এটাকে দেখছে ডেইলি, যখন তারা প্রত্যেকদিন তারা যখন চাচ্ছে তারা এগুলো দেখতেছে। তো এটা কারণটা কি, তাদের মধ্যে যে মূল্যবোধটাকে গ্রোথ করা, মূল্যবোধটাকে জানানো যে কেন আমি এই কাজটা করছি, এটা রেশনালটা কি। তো লিডারের কাজটা শুধু প্রমোট করা না, অ্যাকশন। তার মানে যদি লিডার সে নেতা হয় শুধু ওই যে আমি এখানে একটা ব্যানারে করে রাখলাম এবং এখানে একটা বিলবোর্ড টানিয়ে রাখলাম বা তাদেরকে আমি ট্রেনিং করলাম, সেটা কিন্তু না, তাকেও এখানে কাজ করতে হবে। তার মানে আমরা যেটা বলেছি পাংচুয়ালিটি, না আমাদের পাংচুয়ালিটি থাকতে হবে, ওপেন কালচার থাকতে হবে, আমাদের মধ্যে এফিসিয়েন্টি থাকতে হবে। সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হচ্ছে এখানে আমরা যে ভ্যালুস গুলা আমরা দেখছি তার মধ্যে হচ্ছে আমরা যাই করি তার মধ্যে একটা সদিচ্ছা থাকতে হবে আমাদের, এবং সবাইকে নিয়ে কাজ করার একটা মনোভাব থাকতে হবে। আহ, আমাদের সবচেয়ে ওয়ান অফ দা মানে একটা বিষয় যেটা নিয়ে আমরা আরো আলোচনা করব ভবিষ্যতে, সেটা হচ্ছে ইথিক্স এন্ড রেসপন্সিবিলিটি। যে ইথিক্স এবং আমাদের যে মূল্যবোধ মানে দায়িত্ব যেটা রয়েছে, আহ, সেটা আমাদেরকে আমাদের কিন্তু মানে সঠিক কোনটা ঠিক এবং কোনটা কোনটা ঠিক না, সেটা কিন্তু আমাদের নির্ধারণ করতে আমাদের ইয়ে করে। সুতরাং এখানে আম, একজন লিডারের কিন্তু যে আমাদের যে মূল্যবোধ বা যেটা আমাদের ইথিক্স রয়েছে, যে ইথিক্সটা আমরা আসলে কি করছি, আমরা কি সঠিক কাজ করছি অথবা ভুল কাজ করছি। যদি সঠিক কাজ করি আমাদের সঠিক কাজে আমাদের স্থির থাকতে হবে, যাতে আমাদের এটার মধ্যে যে কি রয়েছে, যে ভার্চু ইন্টিগ্রিটি রয়েছে, অনেস্টি, লয়্যালটি, অ্যাকাউন্টেবিলিটি, ট্রান্সপারেন্সি, যাই করি না কেন এই যে বিষয়গুলো রয়েছে, এটা যদি আমাদের ঠিক থাকে তাহলে আমরা অর্গানাইজেশনের মধ্যে একটা আহ, আমাদের মধ্যে একটা সেন্স অফ বিলঙ্গিংনেস আমাদের থাকছে, আমাদের মধ্যে আমরা একটা অর্গানাইজেশন যখন আমরা কাজ করি আমাদের মধ্যে একটা থাকছে। আর একটা বিষয় হচ্ছে রেসপন্সিবিলিটি। রেসপন্সিবিলিটি হচ্ছে দায়িত্ববোধ, এবং দায়িত্ববোধ হচ্ছে যে আমরা যে কাজটাই করি আমরা দায়িত্ব নিয়ে কাজটা করব। এবং আমাদের এই দায়িত্ব নিয়ে যখন আমরা কাজটা করতেছি আমাদের কিন্তু অনেস্ট, মানে আমাদের এটা কিন্তু আমরা যাই করি কিন্তু এটা ফেয়ার হতে হবে, থট প্রসেস ফেয়ার হতে হবে। এবং আমরা জানি যে আজকাল ভেরি অ্যাডভান্স করলে আমরা কিন্তু অনেক প্রশ্নের সম্মুখীন হই। ইভেন আজকে ম্যানেজারকেও যদি আজকে আমরা জানি যে এমপ্লয়িরা দে আর আস্কিং কোয়েশ্চেন্স, ওয়াই উই আর ডুইং দিস ওয়ান, ক্যান উই ডু ইন এ ডিফারেন্ট ওয়ে। বিকজ আমরা জানি আজকাল আমরা যখন এমপ্লয়ি সিলেক্ট করি, আমরা ইঞ্জিনিয়ার বা কোনো একটা কোর, কোনো একটা এক্সপার্টাইজে কোনো আমরা যদি কোনো এক্সপার্টকে নিয়োগ করি, যখন আমরা তাদেরকে পরিচালনা করি, দে মাইট হ্যাভ ডিফারেন্ট আইডিয়াস। তারা তখন বলে যে ক্যান উই ডু দ্যাট ইন ডিফারেন্ট, উই হ্যাভ টু অ্যাকসেপ্ট দ্যাট ওয়ান। এবং আমাদের অনেস্ট থাকতে হবে, একটু ফেয়ার থাকতে হবে, আমাদের থট প্রসেস ভেরি ক্লিয়ার থাকতে হবে। এবং ডিজাইনিং এন্ড ইমপ্লিমেন্টিং প্রজেক্টস, আমরা যখন ডিজাইনিং অথবা ইমপ্লিমেন্ট প্রজেক্ট করি, কোনো প্রজেক্টে আমরা যখন কাজ নেই, তখন আমাদের এই যে বিষয়গুলো দায়িত্ববোধটা থাকতে হবে। দায়িত্ববোধটা থাকলেই তখন আমরা আমরা কিন্তু আমাদের সামনের দিকে আগায় যাইতে পারবো। নেক্সট একটা গল্প এখানে বলা হচ্ছে। গল্পটার মূল যে সামারিটা হচ্ছে এই, যে আমরা একটা দুইটা ব্যাংককে একটা ওষুধ ওয়াটারের মধ্যে রাখা হয়েছে এবং সেখানে প্রথম যে ব্যাংক এবং তাকে সে যখন সেই পানির মধ্যে সেই পেঁয়াজের গন্ধ পেয়েছে, তখন সে তৎক্ষণাৎ সে একটা বিপদ মনে করে সে চলে আসছে। কিন্তু দ্বিতীয় ব্যাংকটা সে আহ, প্রথমে চিন্তা করছে যে সে যখন মনে করছে যে যখন পানির মধ্যে ঢুকছে তখন তার মধ্যে একটু ভালো লাগছে এবং সে কিছু সময় এখানের মধ্যে ছিল। তারপর আস্তে 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 পানিটা যখন গরম হওয়া শুরু করছে, তার মধ্যে সে কিন্তু ব্যাংকটা কিন্তু খুব মানে তার মানিয়ে নিতে তার সহজ মানে হয়েছে। এবং আস্তে আস্তে দেখা গেল যে শেষ পর্যন্ত সে একটা ফ্রগ মানে সে ব্যাঙের একটা স্যুপ করেছে। তার মানে মোরাল অফ দ্য স্টোরি মানে এখানে শিক্ষাটা আমরা কি পাইছি, আমরা যদি কোনো টক্সিক এনভায়রনমেন্ট বা আমরা যদি কোনো ওই ধরনের ইথিক্যালি টক্সিক এনভায়রনমেন্টে থাকি, তখন আমাদের ইন্টিগ্রিটিটা আমাদের নষ্ট হয়ে যায়। এবং আমরা বিফোর আমাদের এই যে যে শিক্ষাটা যে এটা আছে যে আমরা আসলে আমাদের সমাজে এটা আমাদের জন্য সত্যি কঠিন। আমরা যেখানেই থাকি না কেন, আমি কোনো দেশ জাতি বা কোনো বিষয়ে বলতে চাই না, বাট আমার আমার যে শিক্ষাটা যেটা হচ্ছে যে আমরা যেখানেই থাকি না কেন সেখানে আমরা কিন্তু আমাদের এই যে ইথিক্যালি টক্সিক এনভায়রনমেন্ট, এই টক্সিক এনভায়রনমেন্টে দীর্ঘক্ষণ থাকতে থাকতে যদি আমরা এটাকে সহ্য করি, একটা কথা আছে যে অন্যায় যে সয় অন্যায় যে রয় সমদর্শী দোষী। আমাদের এইটাকে কিন্তু আমাদের ইথিক্যালি আমাদের যে ধরনের সিচুয়েশন আমাদের ইথিক্যালি আমাদের আমাদের পজিশনে আমাদের ঠিক থাকতে হবে। যদি আমরা ঠিক থাকি তাহলে আমরা উই আর ডুইং দ্য রাইট থিংস। এটাই আমাদের শিক্ষা। মিলিয়ন ডলার যে কোয়েশ্চেনটা রয়েছে সেটাই এটাই যে লিডাররা যদি আসলে ইথিক্স প্র্যাকটিস করে তাহলে কি তারা ফল বাহাইন্ড, তারা কি পিছনে পড়ে কিনা ডিসিশন মেকিং এর ক্ষেত্রে। তো যেটা জিয়াউর রহমান সাহেবকে বারবার এখানে প্রশ্ন করেছেন, উনি বলেছেন সেটা হচ্ছে যে হ্যাঁ ডেফিনেটলি এটা ওই আদার ওয়ে রাউন্ড, মানে যদি আমরা ইথিক্যাল গুড ইথিক্যাল প্র্যাকটিস করি ডেফিনেটলি লং লং রানের জন্য আমাদের অর্গানাইজেশন অনেক ভালো করবে এবং আমাদের এভরিবডি ইজ ওয়াচিং আস, সো উইল হ্যাভ এ ভেরি গুড প্রসপেক্ট। আমরা অনেক ভালো অনেক দিকে সামনের দিকে এগিয়ে যেতে পারবো। আপনাদের সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ আমরা আমাদের সাথে থাকার জন্য। আজকে আমরা যে সেশনটা করলাম খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ একটা সেশন। আমাদের এই সেশনের এক্সার্ট যেটা আমরা যে বিষয়ে যে সামারি এটা আরো আমরা এই করে আমরা আপনাদের আমাদের ফেসবুক পেজে আপনারা দেখতে পারবেন। লাইভ সেশন ছাড়াও আমাদের আলাদা করে ইউটিউব চ্যানেলে ওখানে আমাদের সেশনের বেশ কিছু জিনিস আমরা আপলোড করব, আপনারা এটা দেখতে পারবেন। আপনাদেরকে আগামী সেশন রয়েছে বুধবারে, আমাদের রেগুলার সেশন বুধবার রাত 8টায় এডমন্টন সময় এবং টরন্টো সময় রাত 10টা, বাংলাদেশ সময় সকাল 8টা, পরবর্তী দিন বৃহস্পতিবার এবং ভারতীয় সময় সকাল 7:30টা বৃহস্পতিবার। আমাদের সাথে থাকার জন্য আপনাদের সকলকে ধন্যবাদ।
সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ।